Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
I'm Seanbaby from the internet, and you're listening to
This
the
is all
Hypecast.
wrong.
It doesn't
We're
matter.
doing
No,
this
that's
all
fine.
wrong.
That's fine. We can do that. That could
I'm
be
here with
that.
Tom and Dave from 1-900 Hot Dog.
That's the new intro now. That's just our intro now. Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, episode of Hypecast.
Hypecast.
That's the show we get
Hypecast.
hyped about stuff and things. We already did it. We already did it.
We're not using that, are we? Oh man!
Of course we are. We're using all
We're
of it.
using all of
We
this,
don't throw
yeah.
anything out.
No.
I don't delete anything.
Okay.
No deletions.
One of us could get
That's-
swatted in the middle of this recording, and I'd leave it in.
Oh my god, of course we'd leave
Yeah.
that in.
We are going to cut when I did a recital of Mel Gibson's voicemails, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, we cut
yeah,
that
yeah,
part
that's
out.
fine.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No
That
worry, we're
was
not
for the public.
We're not
Just
letting
my
that
fetish.
that beast out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sean, thank you so much for doing the show. Thank you for being on.
It's your honor.
It is.
Your honor.
It is.
I always have a nice time on the Hypecast, and I'm really glad we have such hype-worthy movies this time. Like sometimes I'm on and
do.
you're like, here's 11 generic horror films that are coming out to Netflix in 5 years. I'm like,
Right.
okay, guys.
But
I'm a pro. I still get a little hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, got dig
To
deep. Those are,
give people context.
yeah, this is the real
Super Bowl.
challenging hypes. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, it's just the Super Bowl happened.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
There's 13. We're not doing movie news. We did this recently, didn't we? After something else that created a lot of trailers.
Maybe, I don't know.
It doesn't fucking. Oh no, we did it like after when we came back after Christmas. There was just like too many trailers. We also have too many trailers this time.
It's
And that's
fine.
okay.
It's fine. We're gonna get through them.
I think we could just
Yeah.
skip past a couple of them. There's some really interesting ones, but there's a couple where I'm like, okay, yada yada. Sebastian
there's
a
Stan's
couple
eating
farts.
ladies. Okay.
Well, we'll get to it, but first we have to name some producers. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Big thank you to the conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head. Yeah, thanks. Thank you to Lef. Thank you to Samuel Beckett's Donuts and Mortgage Emporium.
Woo.
Thank you to Ryan, the silly money goose. Thank you to Snapper Carr, punches God in the dick.
Sure does.
Thank you to @NerdNumbers. Thank you to Mike the Lurker. Thank you to DJ Finney. Thank you to Dracula the bus driving vampire. Thank you to Brockway loves the meat Millie.
Sure does.
Thank you to Grumblebee.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me step in here. Thank you.
recognized
Oh, please, you go.
28% of those references.
I don't even think about them. They don't even.
No, they're barely words. This
Yeah.
is barely words.
Barely words.
Coming-
I'm not even speaking English as far as my brain is concerned. Thank you to Screaming Horse Pyramid. Thank you to
Thank you.
Look Mom on a podcast. Thank you to Seismic Charge Noise. Bwam. Thank you to Deborah's Awesome,
Thank you.
Barbara's Great, and Cancer Can Go to Hell.
Thank you.
Thank you to Numino Ultra Microscopic Silico Volcano Coniosis Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you to the baby from Eraserhead.
Thank you.
Thank you to Chiz Lily Tits.
Thank you.
Thank you to these 7 Bs.
Thank
Thank you to Breezy Ruizy. Thank you to Davy Francis for the Revenge.
Thank you.
And thank you to MVB.
Thank you. Yeah.
Quick plug on the 1-900hotdog.com store. We have a new shirt painted by MVB that is beautiful. It's me and Brockway in that scene from Congo, which I imagine I'm already talking about, where the apes are torn apart by lasers and some of them do like flips into the lava. It's fantastic and it's recreated. MVB really captures the essence of guerrilla lasers in all his art.
And where can we find that shirt?
That's on the 1-900hotdog official store. What's
1-900hotdog? What's that?
It's this comedy website started by me and Brockway, and it's got columnist Tom Ryman from
sure does
the illustrious Hypecast. Real star-studded comedy website.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
It's weird you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It is strange that it hasn't entered your orbit.
I'll have to take a look. Yeah.
You know what else we should check out is this trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Is that Patrick Stewart?
Yes.
There's no question.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gotta be, right? They can't. So before I saw this trailer, God, film Twitter or like film internet, like you keep saying, Tom, they're so unsubtle, or like it's just I feel like an old man saying it, but it's like it doesn't feel like what it used to be, or maybe it's just clickbaity. I saw a headline that was like an Easter egg in the Multiverse of Madness, and they kept being phrased as like, is it? What is this? And then watching the trailer, I was like, I think that's just Professor X.
Yeah, well, who else could it be? Like, do you think they cast Patrick Stewart as a second wise Marvel character? Like,
right?
That's absurd.
Who is also bald? That's a bridge too far, sir.
It would be amazing if he just plays Doug and he's just some guy. And he or that it's just some other bald guy, and it'd be like, why would you ever do that if it wasn't Patrick Stewart? I just want to note that Marvel doesn't tend to boast their directors, right? Like, am I wrong with that? Because it really goes like from Sam Raimi, and they're pushing that because I don't know, that actually gives me a really good vibe where they're like, Sam Raimi is a selling point. Yeah. Like they're treating him as equally important as just Doctor Strange. Yeah. Where they're like, it's a fucking Sam Raimi film.
I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Spider-Man 3, the second Spider-Man 3 Part 2, just made all the money in God's universe.
Right. They're not like from the director of Evil Dead. They're like, this is the director of the original Spider-Man's motherfucker.
Yeah. I feel like
that's what they want you to
Taika
think
Waititi's Thor also was like a bright spot for a lot of people. So I think they want to say like, this isn't just like a bland MCU. Like, you know, people are like, hey, these are all the same thing. It's like, no, each one is pretty unique based on the director. So I feel like that's a good choice, and they should probably do more stunt directing.
Yeah. 100%, well, here's the thing, and we've said this a million times. What's interesting is that Taika Waititi, they were like, pushing it, but he's a director who's like, he's his uniqueness is in the comedy, right? In the writing. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sam Raimi is a very visual director. Yeah. And until this point, Marvel films have been very similar visually. That's the thing they tend to have the most control over. And so what I'm wondering is, are they going to finally... Like this, I think this is what happened with Edgar Wright. I don't know for sure, but my suspicion is that they were like, you're being too bold visually, or like in your editing in that. So like, I wonder if they finally are like, Sam Raimi it up. Make a movie that looks different.
I hope so.
That feels different. I hope so too.
Just quick zooms on all of his finger tutting.
Yeah, and that in this trailer they're showing
shots from Shumagorath, like while he's chasing Doctor Strange through the woods.
Yeah, hell yeah.
There's shots in this that I'm like, those are Sam Raimi shots. Mm-hmm. Those don't look like Marvel shots. And that makes me just so fucking excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this.
It's cool.
Like a magic. I'm not into the magic stuff. I'm a hardcore Marvel nerd, but like once magic gets involved, I'm like, okay. And so the first Doctor Strange, I think, was a good movie, but it's not like one I think about a lot.
Yeah, I was the same way. I'm getting more into it now, certainly after like Guardians sort of made the cosmic stuff really accessible. But like I was the same way growing up, where I was super into Marvel, super Marvel nerd, but the magic stuff and the cosmic stuff really was, I was like, all right, I don't care about any of this.
That's very interesting to me, because as someone who doesn't read the comics, it was very appealing immediately in these movies, because they do a thing where they make Doctor Strange and Tony Stark like mirror images of each other. They're both asses, you know, and they hate each other. And it was like, oh yeah, they're the two versions of themselves in tech and magic. And I thought there's actually, I thought, a really big appeal, because like it's not science fiction, the Marvel stuff, and for
is it not?
A lot of it's I think it's very soft science fiction, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Because they have magic, and that's okay. It feels more to me like fantasy for that reason, that they're like, they started with, I thought it was smart where they start with Iron Man. They start with, let's take our world and build on it with tech until that tech is almost like magic. And then they're like, meanwhile, here's magic. And it's our tech and their magic are almost the same, where it's like, I love that idea of like, Tony Stark can go against a wizard.
Right.
And I think they balanced that really well, and like starting with tech made the series accessible. And then once they introduce magic and they start introducing the rules and the cosmic stuff, it just felt very like naturally put into this this world.
You start granular, and then you start easing people into the really crazy shit, like the space stuff and the magic stuff, for sure.
Right. And I thought it was really cool that once we got to Thanos, that both elements kind of collide. And like magic is more in the first one, and then the second one, it's technology. It's Pym's technology that saves us. I don't know. I think they do a really good job with that balance. It's one of the things I really like about Marvel.
One thing about this movie, it's kind of hard to tell who the villain is other than hubris. Like they show Shumagorath, of course. He was the starfish tentacle thing, but he's kind of like he's got no real personality. Marvel never really did a Age of Shuma storyline. He's just kind of like a I guess a baby's notion of a villain. He's like this monster from the Cancerverse, and he just sort of hates life, and so you can't really build a movie around that as a villain. And it's very opposed to what Marvel would normally do, which is they have like complicated villains, at least like on a surface level. They have something more than I will destroy the superheroes.
My theory is that he's like the opening scene villain.
Right.
He's like the Rhino in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
He's a big threat. Like, oh, if they don't stop him, he'll eat the universe. But it's not like he's going to nibble the universe. It's like they'll stop him, it'll be gone, and it'll be like to set up the level of which they're playing at. Because the other thing about this movie is everyone is fucking OP. Like, they got Wanda. Yeah. They have at least 3 different Doctor Stranges. It looks like Chiwetel Ejiofor is a second Chiwetel Ejiofor, like Baron Mordo. Yeah. And so, like, just everything's coming in. There's a guy named... there's a Minotaur in there, which definitely is this dude named Rintra. And he was this apprentice of Doctor Strange in the 80s, and they'd throw him in for just the fucking ridiculous storylines. Like he would bring garbage to life on accident, and they have to fight a garbage monster, or he'd fight
perfect
Mr. Impossible, or the Impossible Man is what they call them. And he was just Marvel's knockoff Mxyzptlk. He was just like this clown that could do anything, and that's the kind of guy that this very nude and green Minotaur would fight. And so like that's kind of what Doctor Strange was in the 80s. In the 70s is really psychedelic, and in the 80s he's just fucking off the wall ridiculous. And so hopefully that's the same Minotaur. I don't know how many Minotaur sorcerers there are in the MCU.
I'm not sure how many Minotaurs are. Here's what I suspected since they announced this movie's title is that the bad guy was going to be Nightmare. Right. And he kind of pointedly says he says the word nightmare in it a little pointedly in the opening, and one of the Doctor Stranges toward the end kind of looks like Nightmare. So that's where my brain is at, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm guessing they're hiding a lot. I'm curious how fucking Patrick Stewart plays. I assume that's a multiverse, right? I assume
I think I know that one. My nerdery is such that there's this thing called the Illuminati, and that's like the main Marvel smart guys. With like, I think they have a rotating cast, but it was like Black Bolt and Reed Richards and Iron Man and Doctor Strange. I'm forgetting. So Namor, I think, was in it. Professor X, of course. And they sort of took it upon themselves to like police all of reality. It's hubris. Again, it's the Tony Stark hubris like spread out across the whole team. And they would each guard an Infinity Stone in the comics.
It's the TVA all over again, right?
And so that like went really, really bad. And I remember they erased Captain America's memory after he found out about him. And you always know you're on the wrong side in Marvel Universe if you're like fucking with Captain America. So like then everything went to hell.
They banish Hulk to Planet Hulk, right? That was their thing. That's the premise of World War Hulk, is that he comes back like, fuck you guys.
God, that was so good. Yeah, so let's talk about that. So in Civil War, we had all the guys fight. And the writers were like, what are we going to do with Hulk? Whichever side gets Hulk fucking wins. So like, I don't shoot him to Conan Planet. And so then they did a storyline where he played Conan Arena for like 20 issues, made a whole ragtag team, came back, and then just fucked up the entire Marvel Universe.
Right.
I was kind of kidding when I said let's talk about that, but what if we just talked about World War Hulk for an hour? Because that also led to the Taika Waititi Thor movie, which is the fucking best.
I want them to make World War Hulk the movie.
Yes.
Is that still like on the table? Because it feels like the Planet Hulk stuff, they clearly did that already.
They cannibalized most of the...
they did most of it in Ragnarok. You could still do World War Hulk.
Yeah, and you could do something like the reveal in this is like, because we don't know how Hulk got to that planet still. So we can have Patrick Stewart.
Garbage hole.
He flew on that. Doesn't he say how? He flew on the Quinjet at the end of part 2. Listen,
he flew on the Quinjet basically he flew on the Quinjet into like fucking space.
Yeah.
And then all right. I should note that it's not like a plot hole. It doesn't matter. It makes as much sense as it needs to. What I'm saying is that we don't really get the details of how he gets from Age of Ultron to Thor 3.
I took it that
we know
Hulk
how they
doesn't
get back,
know how to
and we
work
can...
a navigation system and just flew through the wrong wormhole. I mean, I'm fine with that.
It seems like that's what happened. I'm just saying if they wanted to, they could be like, oh yeah, we threw him into that wormhole. We did something, so they could do that. So basically though, feels redundant because the TVA feels very similar. So what you're saying is that Doctor Strange is going to get arrested. And that's what we see is like these Sentinel-looking motherfuckers bringing him to go look at Patrick Stewart. Arrested / you know what I mean? Like he's going to get detained. And then it's going to be this moment of like what we see in the trailer is he gets put before Patrick Stewart. And then I don't think Patrick Stewart's going to do much in this. I mean, I hope he does a lot. I hope it's like Spider-Man.
I'm sure he will sit in a chair to introduce the idea of the X-Men to the MCU.
Yes, and I think they're probably... it must be tough because they did that reboot. So it's like, are they just going to bring like Fassbender and that group back? Because honestly, I don't care how fucking old they are. I just want Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. I could take or leave literally everybody else.
I think
I just want those two old fucks. Role
after, like, he's so good
they probably
in the old Logan movie.
They probably brought a dump truck full of money to his house, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're probably like, listen, we'll do anything.
Just do 7 more, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. You got him in you. Dig deep, Hugh.
But this movie also introduces America Chavez, who is Puerto Rican. That's why she's dressed like the Puerto Rican flag. But she... despite her Puerto Rican star dimension jumping powers, she's not actually Puerto Rican. She comes from like a pocket lady dimension called the Utopian Parallel. And it sort of parallels Krypton and Paradise Island. So she's sort of a Wonder Woman and they live in this pocket dimension and she escaped that when she was a kid. And they were going to sacrifice their lives to save the multiverse. And so she jumps out with her reality jumping powers. So that's America Chavez. She's also super strong and invulnerable. So she's basically Wonder Woman with this other OP ability. I think Wanda is stealing her powers in the trailer. It's all happening really fast, but like...
Yeah, it's chaos.
Yeah, but...
or madness. It's madness.
It's madness. But I read that she was supposed to appear in the last Spider-Man movie. But like they decided that's just too much. And like they had moved some movies around. So like we got to just like put her in a different movie.
I know they did a lot of rewrites and reshoots on this second Doctor Strange movie because their release schedule got shuffled around. So they had to like adjust it for all the story stuff that came in the previous movies. So
But that usually, I don't know. I'm always impressed by the amount of money and effort they throw into these movies to make sure that these stupid details are as consistent as they can be. Like, it's rare that you have to just fully forgive like a Marvel movie for terrible mistakes. There's a lot of like, you know, apologizing for these movies, but like for the most part, you're like, these guys tried really fucking hard to make all this stuff consistent.
Yeah. I think they do a really good job with the writing side. There's just that element of burnout and the sameness of it all, and the fact that right now it feels like we've been spinning our wheels. Like, I think part of it's pandemic, but like just all the TV shows, I sort of came out of the TV shows being like, so nothing changed.
Right.
Like, so nothing has happened. They were just spinning their wheels, and I kind of feel like I didn't need to watch any of that.
I think they're at a point where nothing means anything, because I counted at least 7 to 8 characters in the trailer that can rewrite all of reality, like on a whim, maybe on accident. And so what means anything when so many characters can just like reset your universe with a fleeting thought? Yeah.
And so like personally for me, the reason that I'm excited about this really just boils down to Sam Raimi, where it's like that is for me, like Marvel needs to, like you said, nothing matters. So they need to just kind of be fun.
Yeah.
For me, and if they they either need to be fun and like figure out how to reset everything so stuff matters, or they just need to start making some just like crazy bullshit.
Yeah.
And just keep it fun
I
and
think
light.
Spider-Man like wrote a clinic on that, where like they did a lot of fun stuff and there's a lot of good story and character, and then at the end it's just like, yeah, we reset the status quo. Like Spider-Man learns and he grows, but like his world doesn't change. And so just like, I mean, what is he, 60, 70 years old now in the comics, but he's still more or less the same character. But if you talk to a hardcore Spider-Man nerd, they could tell you, you know, an entire week's worth of Spider-Man stories. Like, oh yeah, he was a clone for several years, and you know, he's had 6 arms, he's gone to space. Like the stories you could tell of that character, he is the oldest soul ever, but he's still like you know, an angsty teenager. Right.
Yeah, it all feels, very much stagnant in that regard, too. Like, I liked the new Spider-Man, but it did feel like, sort of spoilers for it, where at the end it's like, oh, so this was all an origin story? Like, we've gotten, like, the ending, it sort of ends where, like, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man starts.
Yeah.
And it was like, Jesus Christ. Like,
reset.
They never evolve. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a 1,000-year-old man in a skinny little baby body.
Yeah.
I think
should we move on?
We could talk
to
about
this
that all
next
day.
one?
It's such a dense trailer, but let's move on.
Yeah.
We should probably move on. There's a bunch more.
There's so many more. This is the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers reboot. Very meta.
It's done by Lonely Island.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably very
I have
funny.
a lot of faith in that, but this trailer looks like fucking shit. This feels like a 90s SNL movie where like a one-note concept got stretched out in every possible and very expected way. And also I want to add that it has a real scary movie sense of humor where it's just bashing over the head with the silly while explaining the silly at the same time. And I have an example.
Yes.
Like there's everybody knows that the chipmunks were dressed like Magnum P.I. and Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones. And then they scream it into your open mouth in this trailer.
They fucking run through this thing, and one of them's like, hey, put on some random clothes. And then everyone's like, okay, I'm going to put on some random clothes. Comes out, wears the exact same fucking outfit he had for, 30 years. And he's like, looks down and goes, I'm like, yeah, that should seem really familiar to you. Also, you saw yourself put those clothes on. This joke already doesn't work. And then they look over at a fucking literal sign that says Indiana Jones while the actual Indiana Jones theme song plays. Like, that's not a gag. That's how you fucking explain a reference to Helen Keller. It's garbage.
It feels like they think the property is bigger. Like, the jokes are so obvious and, like very celebratory of Chip and Dale.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're not Star Wars. You know, like, I kind of, I agree where it's like, you need to create, you don't need to do a bunch of references. That said, I do like the CGI gag. I like that weird, because they're basically, so what, it feels like too many things. It feels like they even reference Roger Rabbit. It feels like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's
if
a
you're
Ready
doing
Player
that,
One of a very myopic universe.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of a modern Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the idea of addressing CGI characters. I think that's fun. But then just do Who Framed Roger Rabbit
now,
too.
See, I like what
do
you're
a
saying.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel.
You have a really positive attitude, and the way when I saw this trailer, I sort of I think I got inside the head of the people who made this movie, the process of making this movie, where you sit down in a writer's room and you have an idea like this. What if Chip and Dale, were in a Roger Rabbit world, and the ideas just come flowing? Like, here's the tropes, here's some zany things about those tropes. And I bet it was the most fun brainstorming session, but then no one wanted to fucking do the work to get past those obvious knee-jerk ideas. And so we're stuck with just stuff that you're like, I like that CGI versus 2D animation and dealing with it. I'm like, yes, I love that. But then if someone said, go ahead and go home and write that up, I'd be like, oh God, this is the fucking worst. I don't want to write that.
I honestly, now thinking about it, I'm like, this should have been Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Because that really is what it feels like. The only gag in there that I did like the CGI thing, I think is fun, but I didn't laugh. I like the idea of the junkie mice. I do like the junkie mice.
Yeah. Yeah, it all kind of tickles at the idea of whimsy. You're all like, oh, these ideas could be fun. Now, they don't seem like they are here, but maybe they will be in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good way of describing it.
Yeah, and it could be Roger Rabbit too, for all we know. We don't know really what the story is. My I guess the thing that sort of struck me as weird about this trailer is I think the voice casting is wrong.
Yeah.
I do not think John Mulaney is not that character. He's voicing Chip just as John Mulaney, and it's so weird to me to hear that voice come out of Chip and to hear just Andy Samberg's normal speaking voice come out of Dale.
This is one of those key things I think that happens a lot now. I've been trying to watch Star Trek Picard, right? And they think the way to do something is you just reference the old stuff, like we're saying in this. I don't know enough about Rescue Rangers to know if this is true, but it's the same thing where it's honoring the fans isn't just pointing out the stuff. It's doing the thing from the original, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that idea of oh, look, he's dressed like Indiana Jones. See, we know the show. But then the idea that they didn't cast the right people to actually do the voices is well, you fundamentally missed a big detail right?
Do people think about Chip and Dale's unique personalities this many years later? Is there even a fan circle? I feel like
that's kind of
a Chip and Dale's fan
thing.
collects pillows with Chip and Dale on them. They don't talk about what makes Chip Chip.
I don't know. It was a great video game. Great
It's a solid game. I enjoyed the show, but it's to me, it's if in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies that came out, if the Chipmunks just all sounded like Chris Pratt or something, you know what I mean?
Right. I know what you're saying.
It's
weird.
Let's make this
make this movie. It's just weird to me. I don't know, but I love the Lonely Islands movies so much that, and this, I like the idea of this movie. The trailer doesn't do a whole lot with it, but the idea and who's involved has me on the hook enough to watch it when it comes on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing is this feels like one of those trailers where it feels it's
the biggest asshole cut it.
Yeah, it's something's wrong with the movie that they couldn't put out a trailer.
Yeah, maybe
that properly, because the trailer itself, I found myself feeling kind of knocked around by it, where it was it's confusing. Where I by the end I was I'm not sure what the plot is, because they just do the we're doing a reboot, and then they're running around and going on adventures. And it doesn't feel like there's a plot. I don't
know if they were making a show. What is Are these cartoons who were starring in a show back then, or were they actual adventurers? And they were in a show. Of it. Okay, so
they were in a show.
They were performers.
Yes.
On a show. Okay.
Okay, so that at least makes sense.
4 to 5 layers of abstraction before we get to
I think
what those characters are. Okay.
The Indiana Jones moment is the biggest strike against it. Right?
Yeah,
it's just baffling.
That's so.
So did they do meta stuff in the original?
No.
So this is the stuff where it's okay, I get it, because it's I think the Muppets are kind of like this too, And you're saying that Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, it's that meta plot where it's the cartoon characters are in this show. That's what you're saying.
That's what the movie plot is.
Oh, you're not saying this. Okay, I thought you meant this was like part of the original lore.
No, that's what the premise of the film is that Rescue Rangers was not real. It was a show that they all made together back in the 90s.
Yeah, and so I think that's the problem. Because again, I would love to see another Who Framed Roger Rabbit that deals with CGI, but it's like if they did the Sonic movie, and instead of doing a Sonic movie, it's like Charlie Kaufman's adaptation for Chip and Dale, where it's like, maybe just do Chip and Dale. Like, just do it without the meta stuff. Just do it. Like, that's what's weird about it, is like, there was a decision to be made where they're like, should we just do a continuation of the story? And someone was like, no, we're going to make it meta. And it's going to be about the actors playing Chip and Dale in this Roger Rabbit world. And it's like, oh, okay. That's not Rescue Rangers then, is it?
As someone, and I bet you guys can relate to this, who's seen everything, you know what I mean? We've led full lives, watched a lot of stuff. We've seen, when a movie comes out, we're like, oh yeah, this is like these 15 movies I've already seen. So adding meta to it is always a good direction to get my interest as a learned consumer. But you need like creative people at the top of their game, and this looks like the laziest fucks, like just phoning it in.
It's just like, yeah, I don't think they're going to. We don't want to be.
They're just making a mess.
It's that idea of like, we don't want to be genuine. We don't want to just genuinely make the thing, you know.
Sure.
And so they're doing this. It's again,
and I can relate to that too. Property. I don't like to be sincere.
Yeah. It's just, think about any other property where they're like, oh, we're making another Ghostbusters, and then they made like a movie about a film crew making Ghostbusters. You'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's the Bewitched movie.
Yeah, it's just like, just make the thing. Just do the thing.
That being said, I think 2/3 of the new Ghostbusters was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked a lot of it.
And then it did not stick the landing at all. Like that ended so clumsily. Where we don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
all I can say is I agree with you, Tom, where it's like, I like these guys. I have faith. Mm-hmm. But I am very baffled by this. And there, like I said, there's jokes in this. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. But the overall premise is
I don't have a problem with
weird.
I don't have a problem with the premise, but yeah, all the things we're pointing out in this trailer, the execution seems to be not great, but we'll see.
We'll see.
There are at least moments of such terribleness that I think it will undo most of the good.
That is fair. That Indiana Jones moment, holy shit.
Maybe it's a hard R and they had to like cut around that, you know?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe they're going to address the fact that Chip and Dale are just hanging dong.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm interested again.
Yeah.
Speaking of
powerful
hanging dong,
ropey dong. Yeah, what?
Speaking of which, let's talk about this next trailer, Father Stew. This is just
sure. It's fucking
Thanks for real fucking downer Hollywood legends and documented racists, Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson.
Right. They start with Mark Wahlberg, and I was thinking, like, this is Mark Wahlberg in his prime as a scumbag. And then he's just like, and I'm going to be a priest. And then Mel Gibson shows up, and I was just like, oh, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
It sucks.
And then Malcolm McDowell shows up, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about that.
At the very end, a real 11th hour edition of Malcolm McDowell right at the end of the trailer. I was like, what the fuck? My head is spinning.
Yeah. It's about, like, a guy who goes to Hollywood to be, like, a star.
He's a boxer who goes to Hollywood to try to get an acting career, gets into a motorcycle crash, and decides to devote his life to the church.
Right, and so that's way too many things already. And then we learn, there's like Mel Gibson.
It's apparently a real
alcoholic
guy, Dave. So maybe you need to like contact the real Father Stu and let him know that he needs to calm the shit down.
Take out a couple of these things. If I met him,
I'd be like, I'd be like, dial it back, man.
Yeah. 4 less hobbies, dickhead.
Yeah, and then Mel Gibson's there. And he's married to Jackie Weaver, who's like the only person in this I was like, oh, why? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't think he's married to Jackie Weaver anymore. In the they're his parents.
They're like exes.
They're his parents, but they seem to be pretty divorced.
And then Malcolm McDowell randomly shows up, and like it seems like they show the whole movie where it's like, and then he becomes a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then he gets some muscular disease, and then he like. They say, hey, you can't be a priest. And he's like, I will be a priest. Because every time in a movie someone gets a fucking, like, affliction. The doctor's like, "You'll never do the thing again," and they're like, "I'll show you, doctor." Like, I don't know who in medical school teaches them this. That okay, doctors, you help people's health, sure, but mostly you tell them they won't ever be able to do anything again when they get injured.
Well, it's a tactic. It's how they inspire them to do the thing.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
I can't imagine talking about this movie for another 5 seconds.
Nope.
If this movie was on in front of me and you held my eyeballs open, I wouldn't remember it 5 minutes later.
Yeah. Like Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out of this trailer.
There's the beauty of this lineup. There's a few trailers where it's like, I want to talk about this for days. Yeah. And there's a few where it's like, I'm not. Like Father Stu, I have officially seen the movie as far as I'm
the
concerned.
trailer shows me everything. I don't care to watch Mel Gibson play Mark Wahlberg's dad for a second time.
Yeah.
Daddy's Home 2, if you recall.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
That means Mark Wahlberg made that decision twice. All right.
Let's talk about Fresh.
This
is Sebastian Stan as a cannibal.
Is that what it is? Is that what's happening?
It must.
The poster. So if you see the poster, it's of like a severed hand and like one of those meat wrappers. So I'm pretty fucking sure what's going on is a woman who like hates dating. She meets Sebastian Stan in a supermarket. They hit it off, and then it implies that she's kidnapped. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be some sort of like eat people with me.
Yeah, I think they're going that direction.
Yeah, they're being real vague about what exactly happens between them, but something happens between them that is, I don't know, super fucked up. Who are the people?
I think they eat her friend.
There's somebody interesting involved in the creative end of this. What was it? Shit. I forget. It was one of those like from the people that brought you this thing that you liked, and I was like, I did like that thing.
You're right.
You're right.
Here's something I had in my notes. I said the part where she's boxing with her friend. If you're going to punch a bag like that, Daisy Edgar Jones, why do you even need someone holding it? Why do you even need a bag? Just punch a fucking tree with full power. Your hand will be fine. Just happen absent-mindedly pawing at this bag.
I did flag that in my mind. It's like
why frame the scene in a boxing gym?
It's like she punched it in slow motion. It was very funny. But the rest of it, I'm really into it. Like this, I'm gonna watch this when it comes on Hulu in a couple of weeks, which is where it will be.
Mimi Cave is the director, and the director and writer have done just a lot of short films. Mm-hmm. So this feels like debut stuff, and it looks. I don't know this. Yeah, this could be really good. This just looks really compelling. It's got good reviews. It's a horror comedy thriller.
Oh, word.
I hope Sebastian Stan eats her.
He better eat somebody.
I hope he eats literally everybody.
Yeah, I hope it's like Godzilla. Single person.
It just ends with him on an empty planet, just sucking the meat off the very last bone.
Yeah, and then he's just like, I'm still hungry. All right, well, you want to move on to this other one? Because this other one's very compelling, too.
Sure.
Sure.
This is Alice. This is about
this movie looks bonkers.
Yeah.
I know. This is like, I started and I was like, okay, this looks compelling, like a compelling drama. And then it was like, oh, shit. It's a slave on a plantation, and she escapes. And then she time travels. And it was like, oh, shit. She time travels to the 70s and like meets a guy who's just like, I guess believes her.
Dave, she does not time travel. This is a village situation.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Wait,
Village.
It's a village?
It's a village situation.
I thought she fucking time traveled.
No, it's Johnny Lee Miller pretending to still be a pre-Civil War plantation owner with a bunch of slaves, and then she gets away from him and realizes it's actually the 70s.
See, that's even more wild than fucking time travel, to be honest. And that actually makes I have more questions.
Yeah.
Because I just assumed she time traveled because I was like, certainly that isn't what's happening.
I really like that it just sort of kicks the shit out of M. Night Shyamalan, and that it skips all the way past all of the dumb crap in his movie and gets to the only interesting idea from the village.
Yeah.
Which, if
It
I remember, that
starts
was like
with
the
that.
finale of The Village, where
Yeah.
he has this village, and everyone in the trailer was like, oh, so like here's the twist. They're set in the modern world, and they're just in a stupid little village, and they don't know there's an outside world. And then that turned out to be the twist. And I'm like, yeah. Skip ahead to this. And now, of course, she's doing a full-on revenge to kill the slave owner. And I really wish that was more of a genre. I love a movie where the slaves get revenge on the slave owners. And also, I related a lot to this movie. I obviously am a white man, but if I'm being honest, I was very educated about the modern black experience by Pam Grier 70s movies, just like the woman in this trailer. So I'm like, okay, this is speaking directly to me. And so I don't know. I think this will also be a great movie to tell which people on Twitter are racist, which people on social media are racist, because people will react negatively to this. And because racists always like instinctively know when the goal of a movie does not align with theirs. And so I think this is such a cool idea. And
it really is. It's the
really
wildest
cool
way
idea
to do a revenge movie like this.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at The Village, it's like they would be all racist. Like someone who creates a village like that and is just like, it's better here. It's like, who you keeping out?
I feel like
What-
you're
Who you
racist.
keeping
what
out?
was so nice about those old times for you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. I just have so many questions now of like, how did he start his plantation village?
I guess he just why haven't people
Kidnapped
been able to go in?
people?
Because there's a moment when it's Keke Palmer plays the lead, and when she escapes, she runs into Common, who is a truck driver, and there's the shot later in the trailer where she's like, I'm gonna go back there and fucking blow this guy away, and Common's like, that's a death sentence, you can't go back in there. So
death certificate.
that's right. He says it's a death certificate, which is
so
just
good.
I don't know. It's just a cool way to say that line that everybody's familiar with. But like, so it suggests that people know where this plantation is, and like
He must be like a really rich guy.
the FBI
I'm
hasn't
assuming-
swooped in. Yeah, I guess.
Your
so.
note here, by the way, is that his eye patch moves.
I saw
Yes.
that too.
I think it's because my guess now that I know it's not time travel, I think he's just a really rich guy and he thinks the eye patch is
He's
cool.
cosplaying. Yeah, I couldn't tell if it
I
was.
think he's cosplaying.
I genuinely couldn't tell if it was a mistake or not. Is Johnny Lee Miller in this trailer is playing the slave owner, and he's wearing an eye patch that moves from eye to eye in different shots, and I don't know what that means.
The director, her name is Kristen Verlinden, if I got that right. Nothing else on IMDb. This is the writer-director only movie.
It's her directorial debut. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So this will
like
be all
usually
our best
they have
ideas. All our interesting
usually they
ideas.
have like short films or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's usually other credits. I'm saying it's nothing else. It's barren. And so I like to think this is someone who just had an idea. They walked into Hollywood, opened the Hollywood door and just like walked in and was like, I want to do this. And they were like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to do that movie. Cause it is like great idea.
Yep. I love it.
I love it. I can't fucking wait.
It's such a wild
M. Night
idea.
Shyamalan's
yeah.
The Village meets Django Unchained, set in 1973. You're like, okay.
Absolutely. Oh man.
Yeah, on board.
Excited for this.
Completely on
Yeah.
board.
Well, let's talk about The Contractor.
Sure.
This trailer is exactly what it's like to be a contractor, right?
Yeah, this has been my
sure.
experience.
This is a
Guys,
Chris
before I hear
Pine.
your reaction, I just want you to know I love this. Maybe
Oh
that's,
no, this is dad porn
Yeah.
through and through, and
This is
I love
extreme dad entertainment. After getting through all of Reacher on Amazon, I am primed for more dad entertainment.
it. Let me tell you what the poster looks like, and then people will know. It's Chris Pine,
Go on.
and he's sort of sideways, like he's looking past the camera. And then all the way in the background is a flying American flag.
Fuck yeah.
And then in the foreground is like ashes and like sparks from presumably a fire.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then it says Chris Pine and The Contractor.
Yep.
And it's like, yep, that's the film. That is,
I get it.
That is the entire film.
I feel like that's the posters that he'll be making in like 15 or 20 years. It seems a little soon for that poster to exist, but the movie does look kind of cool.
It does look like Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit Part 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, the first part looks like they were humanizing war criminals. It's sort of like, hey, you know all those contractors that do all the war crimes? They have families and financial needs. But then it's like, no. They twist that. And Kiefer Sutherland's like, all right, go kill this scientist. He's doing bad stuff. Scientist's like, no. I'm actually doing great stuff. And the people who sent you here want me dead because I'm like fucking up their financials. And then Chris Pine's like, okay, well, I'm going to switch sides. And so then all the contractors want to kill Chris Pine. And then he's like knocking dudes off motorcycles and breaking light bulbs in tunnels so he can stab guys from the shadows. And he's got Navy SEAL underwater superpowers. And I'm like, fuck yeah. This is Navy SEAL
also
Rambo.
has...
Love it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's also one of my favorite like action movie tropes. Or any, I guess, sci-fi as well, which is a person who doesn't bother to Google the person he's working for.
Right.
Because Kiefer is just like, I work for the president.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay.
Let me send you on your official presidential mission. It's like...
the president of Baby Murder Oil.
Yeah. Ask one question, Chris Pine. Just any question.
Also fucking Jillian Jacobs is in this.
Yeah, Jillian Jacobs. Isn't Ben Foster is another contractor working with him in it?
Yeah. I guess Jillian Jacobs, like, I'm not used to her outside of Community, even though she's done movies.
Not movies like this either, is the other thing.
So it's just, it threw me off.
Yeah.
Ben Foster, it's like, of course he's in
right.
this.
He's done a
Ben
million
Foster.
movies like these. It's just, it's weird to see Jillian Jacobs, like, playing the wife in a Tom Clancy thriller. It's like, I've not seen her in those kinds of roles.
Yeah.
So yeah, she really jumped out at me as well.
And then Keith. Of course, Keith.
The Keefs.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with a wrinkled up, tatted Kiefer being all villainous. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's perfect. Contractor. Everybody watch
no other
it.
notes. I just was like, I like this type of movie. I like the positive message of betraying your boss for the greater good. And killing guys from the shadows. I love it when you can do that for a positive message.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like when Rambo comes out of the mud and cuts that guy's throat, that like defined my childhood. I still do that to this day.
Yeah.
If you're walking by mud in my neighborhood, like you have a 40% chance of death.
Yeah. Throats are going to be slashed, but it's only to inject more peace into the world.
Mm-hmm. 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 Depending on which Rambo movie. Some of them I'm kind of the bad guy.
Like the most recent one?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's thank some more producers before we get through to these. We got more trailers, folks.
Yeah, we sure do.
Big thank you to Chester's Prophet. Thank you very much. Thank you to Definitely Not Guillermo del Toro. All right. Thank you to Brian, who Tom knows. Thank you to Bob Grenville. Thank you to Steven. Thank you to Han Toomey, the Confused Cyborg. Thank you to Asking Seven. And thank you to Happy Ed 209.
And a Happy Ed 209 to you as well. Let me jump in here. Thank you to Tiger Doors Pratt Thompson. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Not singing it this week. Thank you to Dan Hackroyd. Thank you to Manischewitz Maltov says the spice must flow, comrades.
Thank you.
Thank you to E.T. the Extravagant Terresticle.
Thank
you to Cody Johnson's Time Machine Noise.
Thank
you to Pete Vorpagel.
Thanks.
Thank you to Glitterous, CFO of Michael Shannon's Chocolate Factory.
Ooh, thank you.
Thank you to pre-order Jason Pargin's new book. Pre-orders are super important.
It's true.
It is. It is true.
All right.
Oh man, we've got so many more trailers.
Every time you read those names, it's just like the directions that the references and the tone goes. It's just I'm pulled in every direction. You have very strange supporters.
It's a whirlwind.
We do.
It really.
So, our next trailer, The Cursed. This is, as you point out, Tom, terrible name.
Yeah, this movie I've been hearing about for a while because it actually premiered in Sundance last January. So over a year ago. And when it premiered then, it was called 8 for Silver, which I think is a much better name.
It's better than The Cursed because this passed me by for so long because I was like, a horror movie called The Cursed? Yeah. I'm good. Yeah. I'm all set.
Whatever.
And then I watched the trailer in like a theater before I forget what movie. And I was like, where did this come from? Like, because this looks like it could be really fucking cool. It looks kind of nuts.
Yeah, it seems like what they're dealing with biblical stuff. It looks like torment manifested as jump scares. And I'm not a horror guy, so I see something like this, I'm like, all right, yada yada. But like, it seems well made, I guess.
All right, yes, it definitely feels jump scary. But I guess what it is that there's a lot of visuals in this where I'm just like, I haven't seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And it kind of just looks over the top. Like, it looks like, it was like, I liked watching it and being like, what is it, werewolves?
It is
Witches?
werewolves, yeah.
What is it, ghosts? Where it was like, I kept, there's like Evil Dead twigs attacking people. And it was just like, I don't know exactly what's happening here. But
yeah, I
assumed
in addition
werewolves.
to all the other magic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks fucking nuts.
Pretty sure it's werewolves. It's like an old-timey village, and evil shit is happening. It looks... Yeah, there's a lot of jump scares in the trailer, but like the look of it and, like you were saying, the different visuals also caught my attention. And then also I had been hearing generally good things about it since people first saw it last year.
That's good to know. I'm glad it actually
if it does turn out to be a werewolf movie, boy, somebody should have told them not to have the word cursed in the title.
Wait.
The Wes Craven vampire movie. Werewolf movie.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's what's there's already a fucking werewolf movie called The Curse. I don't know, man. It seems like my guess is that someone made a very good movie that then got bought by a studio that was like, let's do this, and they're like, fine. I really want it to be good. It's the director of a movie called Cashback, which is fucking wild movie from what I remember. So like, it's what Cashback. I don't quite remember that movie. I just remember watching it and being like, this is fucking weird. And so it just gives me a little more hope knowing that as well.
Yeah.
That this director has made some weird ass shit.
The trailer does look weird, which I think is its biggest selling point for me. Like, that's what's got me the most interested, is the fact that it looks kind of unique, even though it's a little jump scare heavy in the trailer.
Right.
But I think we need way more werewolf movies. I think we need one a month at least.
Yeah, I could believe. We remember when we briefly, there was like this brief moment where it was like small town werewolf stuff, because there was werewolves within. There was the Wolf of Snow Hollow, and then there was technically Wolf Cop.
Sure.
And it was like that was like a weird moment we had.
It's the Wolfessence, yeah.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of like, let's do a fucking legit werewolf horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess people like this stuff. This you say it looks unique, and I take your word for that. But like, when I see a trailer like this, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this 200 times. Like, it just sort of feels like the last time I was on Hypecast and there's all those horror movies. I'm just like, how do people like keep them compartmentalized in their brain? Like, how do you remember The Cursed from?
You're not a horror fan.
It's true. Yeah. And but I mean, you heard my fucking nerd shit talking about Marvel movies. I'm sure most people are like, yeah, they're all nude green minotaurs to me. Yeah,
we've talked about this on other episodes where it's the same, where like every romantic comedy looks the same. You know, like it's, I listen to punk and people are like, that all sounds the same, and it's like, not if you're into it. It all sounds different,
Of course.
And there is that element. I get it, where it's like, if you're a casual viewer of horror, I can see this passing people right by.
Yeah.
Horror tends to have a lot of hidden gems, and you have to like seek them out. And it's because in the trailers, it's so hard to tell which one is actually going to be good or not, I think.
And I don't think anyone has the time to do that for every genre. Like, I used to do that for Kung Fu.
Yeah.
I'd watch 70 bad Kung Fu movies to get to some magical gem of a Kung Fu movie. But like, I don't have time to do that for horror also. Come on.
Right. Well, I'll watch it and I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. And I feel like all horror trailers are the same. Like, that's how I experience most of these movies, where it's like, oh, here's a creepy visual. Oh, a second creepy visual. Approaching shadows. And a jump scare. Oh, and a fake out jump scare.
Oh, yeah. And all the trailers have the moment that's in this, which is quiet moment at the end. Quiet moment.
And then a tackle.
And then it cuts to the credits.
Yeah.
And it always feels very forced. Like the one in this feels forced.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I bet that's not actually the scare that happens in that scene. Because they often like just edit the scenes to make them...
I also don't think that the most artistic and expressive person on the crew is the one cutting the trailers. I don't think that's where the genius does the work.
It tends to not be anybody who worked on the movie.
Right.
Like the most famous trailers we talk about, like the Shining trailer and the Alien trailer, those were made by the directors, which is rare. And I think that's a big part of it, which is like normally they just give it to some company and they say like, yeah, here's the scenes, make a trailer.
And it's a different skill set that I don't know.
And they get better, they get worse, they change. Trailers we go in and out of. And horror trailers lately have been very much weird formula.
Yeah. Well, I think we've brought it up before, but like trailers are not just appealing to audiences; they're appealing to theater owners to convince them to, show the movie.
Sure.
So they want to show them like, nope, it's going to be like a regular movie. It's got all the same beats that and then people are going to buy tickets and watch it. So that's part of the reason.
Counterpoint, I want to leapfrog one to get to Deepwater because I think this trailer is
best trailer.
Maybe the best trailer I've ever seen.
It's just Ben Affleck getting a hand job.
It's Ben Affleck getting like he's just a husky hand job. He's just breathing heavily.
Just right into the mic. Oh. And then they each say basically nothing except like, hey, there's something really wrong with me. And then Ben Affleck's like, there's something really wrong with me too. So here's what I think this is. I want everyone to give their theories. I think these are two werefish confessing that they're werefish during a hand job. That's what I think the movie is. I think it's like My Dinner with Andre. It's 90 minutes of just this hand job, no camera cuts, talking about their differences, but they find out at the end they're both werefish.
I actually had I had already looked it up.
That was exactly my read.
Well, let me tell you what the director's done, because they say it in the trailer, but they don't say it all. And I think it'll make you realize what this is. It's the director of Flashdance, 9.5 Weeks, Fatal Attraction, Jacob's Ladder, Indecent Proposal, and Lolita.
A romantic betrayal.
It's a sexy.
It's a fuck thriller.
Yeah, it's a fuck thriller. It's a good old 90s fuck thriller.
Hell yeah!
And I am so goddamn excited for that. We don't get fuck thrillers anymore.
That's because Michael Douglas aged out of them, and we didn't have a new Michael Douglas for a while.
That's true. Well, guess what? Ben Affleck could absolutely be our new Michael Douglas.
He's the new Michael Douglas.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
God, he's going to be really excited to hear that. Ben Affleck,
remake,
if you're listening, that's high praise.
Remake Disclosure with Ben Affleck.
Yes! Soderbergh made Side Effects, which is a sexy thriller. There's still sexy thrillers out there. They're just few and far in between. Mm-hmm. But the plot of this is a well-to-do husband who allows his wife to have affairs in order to avoid a divorce becomes a prime suspect in the disappearance of her lovers.
Hell yeah.
Oh, very nice.
Sexy,
that's actually
sexy
a
thriller.
Great hook. I would have loved to see that in the trailer. No, I take it back. I like the trailer the way it is.
The trailer is perfect.
Like to have somehow known that, but not through the trailer. Like maybe at the end, it said, like the credits, it would just explain like that. Exactly what you said.
What I need more than anything is a scene in this, like in Multiverse of Madness, where he gets like detained and goes into a room and they do a reveal and it's Michael Douglas. Mm-hmm. Like I want a Michael Douglas reveal of like he's the mentor who has to help Ben Affleck through the sexy thriller.
Do you remember that Bruce Willis film called Surrogates? What if Ben Affleck is housing Michael Douglas's brain and he's just jumped into that younger body so he can like relive sexual thrillers?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we get Michael Douglas in here somewhere.
As long as we get his reptilian ass in there.
I'm so fucking excited for this hand job movie.
It's what a trailer. Just my goodness.
Yeah.
Just uncomfortable. Can you imagine watching that with your parents? Like you're just watching a movie trailer and it comes on with your like folks in the room and it's just like this breathy hand job.
They're playing the trailer before Sing 2 in the theaters.
Just really, really wheezing. Just a wheezing orgasm.
It's amazing because they were like, how much can we get away with? Because we want people to know there's a hand job. The whole trailer, and we're not kidding. The entire trailer is just a hand job scene. It's them talking under a tree, and she's talking to him, and then hand job, and like you don't hear they like she's like they clearly like had to work out like how much can she move her arm.
Right.
You know, like, how can he react? What noises?
This is an early in the relationship hand job because he lets out a big breath when she touches it. This isn't like a, hey, sweetheart, let's go down to the lake, maybe rub a couple out. This is not like old friends hand jobbing together. This is like, there's a bit of scandal to the start of this.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
He shudders like Frosty just came to life.
Like, this is a scandal.
That's
this
Ben
is a
Affleck.
scandalous.
That's what he calls his
picnic
boner.
hand job.
Frosty has come to life.
There's a bit of this is a Fox movie, and there was a bit of a I don't know, a hullabaloo, or I guess that's the word. With Disney decided to not release this theatrically, and just is dumping it on Hulu, presumably because it is far too dangerously sexy. Like they don't.
Yeah.
It's too sexy that they worry it won't make any money in a theater. So that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah. So I have to note there, if you go on IMDb, and you guys don't have to do this, but you know how they have like screenshots of the movie? They have, or like promo photos?
I've heard of that, yeah.
There's one photo that's just from outside. I don't know how to describe this. It's from outside a window, pointing in at Ben Affleck, and he's looking almost directly at the camera through this window holding a drink. And it just looks like every paparazzi photo of Ben Affleck.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like dropping a box
Like-
of donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't tell if it's a promotional still or it's like a shot that they took behind the scenes. Like it could be either one.
Yeah, I mean, it was this. They were really like. I mean, this movie is why he and Ana de Armas started dating, and that they were really hounding them during that whole period, that early COVID period where they were in lockdown together.
All I know
so
is
it could just be a photo from that.
yeah, I want this in theaters. I want Sexy Thrillers back. I want that to be the next Marvel.
I want the stranger next to me to give me a hand job during that scene.
Yeah, I want Deep Water Happy Meal toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get it going. Fucking no notes.
Little Ben Affleck
So
bathtub
excited.
toy that squirts water out of his dick.
It's just a hand job. The trailer is just a hand job.
a hand
folks.
job. Incredible trailer.
Oh my god.
We're going to be talking
All right,
about that one decades from now. It's going to be up there with The Shining and the Alien trailers. That you remember that
Absolutely.
Deepwater trailer was just Ben Affleck getting a handy?
Yeah, that's it. That's the trailer. Incredible. Going back to the trailer we're going to talk about, Windfall. This is also a movie I'm excited for, only because I light up every time I see Jesse Plemons in anything now.
Yeah, he's
He's
incredible.
fantastic, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when
And-
he's playing a bad guy, which he appears to be playing in this.
Yeah, he's playing like,
Yeah,
and
sort of.
he's also, he usually plays like defeated. Like he's always very like solemn and defeated. He's like he's got a lot of pep in his step in this trailer. And that I'm excited about that. What were you going to say?
No, I think this looks really complicated, but good, like really well acted and written. And I don't know, it just sort of has a Glengarry Glen Ross thing where like I don't know,
Yes.
where it's like, how do you describe that movie to somebody? Then they watch it, like it's incredible. Like the moments that they show in this trailer, I'm like, oh god, this looks really good. But it also sort of seems like the guy takes them hostage, but then they immediately become in on it. And then they sort of seem to have some sort of a backstory, and then it's an entanglement. Maybe it's some sort of a grift that he's trying to get them involved in. I don't know. It just seems very complicated.
I think maybe I think
Too much
like
for a
she
trailer.
paid him or something.
Well,
To like it's very Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? It looks like it's in one location.
Yeah,
That's key.
it's Jesse Plemons and Lily Collins. For the people who haven't watched the trailer, they're a married couple. They move into their new house. Jason Segel is there robbing them. He briefly ties them up and is like trying to get more money out of them. But something happens that he releases them, and they're just sort of living together. And at one point in the trailer, Jesse Plemons mentions a possible crime he's done. So I feel like maybe there's a blackmail element in there.
Right. It seems like Jason Segel, like he fucked him over.
Yeah.
And Jason Segel wants revenge, and Jesse Plemons is definitely guilty. It does seem like he's always has them hostage. I think they're always kind of hostage. Like he has a gun, and it's it
but
definitely
I don't think
feels
it's that physical threat that is compelling.
yeah. But there's a delightful scene where he asks for an amount of money, and they're like, you should probably ask for more.
Right.
Like, they're like trying to coach him through robbing them. So it just looks really fucking weird. And
it's written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote Seven and The Game, Dave.
Yeah.
Michael Douglas.
I know. So
it all comes back.
And they were like from the writer of Seven in this like really like snazzy font. I was just like, that's weird.
And like the Fight Club font.
Yeah. And it looked like the man who wasn't there. Like it was like like razzle dazzle 1940s font.
Yeah. I don't know.
Funny.
This looks very compelling. I'm very excited for this. I love anything that's trying to be Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I love all of those ones where it's like, this is probably a play or could be a play, you know, when it's just actors getting to like show us how good of actors they are.
It's not getting
Fences. That was fun for that reason.
Yeah. It's not getting it's not getting a weird husky handy, but you know.
No, it's no husky handy.
It's like a hand job of the mind.
That's true.
Yeah. That should be the tagline.
Yeah.
Of the next trailer.
This movie gave my brain a hand job.
No, that should be the Rings of Power, which is our next trailer.
Sure.
A hand job of the mind.
Now, see, it looks to me like The Hobbit in the way that it looks very expensive, but maybe not expensive enough. And enough like a video game cutscene that my brain just instinctively tries to ignore it. Like I have to will it to pay attention. It's like, nope, it's not a video game cutscene. Some of these are real humans.
They're filming it. They filmed it in like England, and I remember hearing that and being like, oh, so you mean on a green screen.
Right.
And that's it. Is The Hobbit is the same where it's like, this looks very expensive, and yet why does it feel fake as hell?
They filmed it all at Pinewood.
Yeah, and this is a weird lesson I thought they might have learned from The Hobbit, but I guess not, which is that like, Lord of the Rings, part of the appeal was it wasn't a fucking cartoon. It was shot on real locations, which, yes, is expensive, especially if you're making a TV show. I get it. But, like, that was the appeal. Like, the reason I watched Lord of the Rings is kind of I want to exist in the world. And it's like this world of matte paintings and models along with real locations. And it just feels like that's such... You know how we talk about how, like, action isn't action without practical stunts?
Yes.
I'm starting to think fantasy isn't fantasy without practical locations. In my head, like, it kind of needs that.
I'd agree.
Where it's like, we're going to fucking Iceland and shit for this.
Like we
and
just
so,
watched on our podcast, we watched the Conan movies with Lydia Bug, who's like young and didn't grow up with
I
them.
listened. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And as we watch those movies, they're obviously, Conan the Destroyer in particular is not very good. But then when they get on the set and you see like these fucking amazing statues and weird like things that they built, you're like, this rules. I totally am on board for this. And it's just so much better than, you know, well-paid, good actors like walking through a green screen for obvious reasons. But I'm just saying, like, you just can feel the difference. Where Conan the Destroyer has such long moments of boredom, but I never like get bored with the movie because it's things happening.
Right.
Whereas
Lord
of the Rings
built that
looks
shit.
just
it's
like
beautiful,
slow-mo, artistic, like archery, and then like fantastic creatures and particle effects. And I'm just like, this is fucking, skip this. Let me get back to the video game. It's completely boring.
Well, I would say The Hobbit. The Hobbit was that for me. I think because again,
when I said Lord of the Rings, I mean the Rings of Power. The original movies, of course, are great. Right. But yeah, The Hobbit.
Yeah, because it's the moment. It's the stuff where in The Hobbit they're like, let's just CGI the orcs, and it's like, yeah, you sort of fucked up there. Yeah. And like if you remember the Lord of the Rings series, the moments that made the audience groan, that made the nerds upset, is when, for example, Legolas fucking yabba dabba doos off of the elephant.
Yep.
And so if they were smart, they would pick up on that. And instead in The Hobbit, they're like, let's make it all that. Let's make all these characters rubber. Because like those movies, they're just like, they're there's no stakes. Yeah, they're cartoons. They're doing like flipping around. And so this feels like they learned the wrong lesson. Yeah. Because it just, I don't know, maybe this is good. We don't know. It's a teaser.
It's a minute long and I was done with it 4 seconds in.
it looked like not a single location was real. That was like, there was a couple shots where it was like, oh, I bet that's a real place. But for the most part, it just felt, kind of cartoony.
This is going to seem like a left field reference, but did you guys watch the Boba Fett show?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, most
maybe
of it.
Never.
Yeah.
It's very practical. It's very old Star Wars. And some of it's weird. It's kind of all over the place. But you'll find that the action sequences are super engaging, but they feel like they're in slow motion because they just kind of do everything. It feels like very practical, and it feels like those old like 80s movies. And I guess that's sort of the difference between, I guess, those two styles. Like you look at the Rings of Power, and it feels like the action is very choreographed and fast and fluid, whereas like Book of Boba Fett, it's like, okay, you guys stand behind there and then duck because the lasers are coming, and then stand up, and you're just like, this is fucking stupid. Like what?
Right.
Like you'll find yourself thinking like, why isn't that guy taking cover? Why? But you know where every laser is going, and you know what everybody is like in the moment doing, which is what too much CGI takes away from a scene. Where you're just like, that's an actor waving his arm around, and you know that in your soul. And
what it is, do you ever watch the Mystery Science Theater of Space Mutiny?
I don't think so. Or if I did, I would.
Okay, there's a line that they say that I always remember, which is that there's supposed to be like a space dogfight, and they keep cutting to the cockpit, and the cockpit looks terrible. And the guy's like, oh my God, I'm going to crash. And they just say, relax, you're in your own room. And like, because it's just so fake looking, it's CGI brings us all the way back to that, where it's like, oh, you're fine, man. You're on a green screen. I can tell you're on a green screen. Like it's that. Like I'm looking at this Lord of the Rings, and there are practical locations in this trailer. I think the thing we're all thinking about is the person climbing the mountain scene that's in it. And it's like clear. It's just like, oh yeah, you're on a green screen. You're not climbing. Like you're clearly not climbing. You don't look like you're having like trouble climbing. The camera shots are like in impossible locations. They're doing everything they can to remind us that this isn't real.
I think
it looks photoreal, but everything about it looks fake.
Yeah, real quick, it was filmed in New Zealand, at least most of it.
Okay, I think they moved production.
They moved. It's a whole thing, with COVID and the amount of money they were spending.
I get it.
The show cost like $500 million.
Yeah, I get it. I just feel like by like season 4, we're gonna get.
By season 2, they've already moved everything to UK for season 2, but
they're just green screening everything. And I get it budget wise, but it's like, if you can't afford it, then don't make it. I guess I don't know. I think. By the way, Boba Fett, I think it's very funny. It didn't occur to me until Obi-Wan, where it's like, oh, you're just using the same desert, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, they don't want to leave
season
the
one.
desert.
Season one was season 1 of The Mandalorian was a tech demo to see if their new technology would work, if they could actually make shows out of it. So now they're just using that for all these other shows.
Right, but but it's a wraparound screen, right?
Yes.
My question is like, then why not make a non-desert show? If like you can put them anywhere.
Because it's super easy, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Right, because it's just like wraparound screen, desert background, even lighting, we're good.
But anyway, the last thing I'll say about Rings of Power is I think something, as somebody who's sort of like outside the Tolkien fandom, although I've watched and enjoyed Lord of the Rings the past 2 decades, and I'm friends with a lot of people who are really into the Lord of the Rings, into the Tolkien stuff. The one thing that everybody seems to agree on is nobody gives a shit about anything that's not in those 3 books. So the fact that they're doing an entire series from like the appendices and like the prologue to the Lord of the Rings seems like a really stupid idea to me.
Yes.
Like,
well, we talked about
this is
like
impossible to care about, right? Like how.
Yeah. No, we've talked about with this a lot of things where it's Harry Potter, it's Marvel, where they're like the fate of the world, and then they complete it and they're like, oh, but there's more stories to tell. And it's like, you kind of should have started with those stories then, because you already did the fate of the world
big one,
stuff.
yeah. So like this is
Star Wars. It's like
the show
there's another threat. It's like, is there though?
the show
honestly
is.
think it works for Marvel because all those characters have, decades and decades of singular adventures. So if you're a Captain America fan, you're like, oh, I can name 15 Captain America storylines that would make fantastic movies. I don't think you could do that for the Lord of the Rings characters. It's like, the 3 books. And you're like, oh, what about this fucking dwarf? The fuckable dwarf. What about him? Like, I guess, but like...
He was pretty fuckable.
I sort of disagree with Marvel because you're right, as a comic book fan, it's probably that. But for movies, they just killed half the universe and brought it back.
Sure.
And so it's like, I really can't think of the stakes being higher than that. I guess the entire universe. So just do so it still feels like it's the same problem all around, which is that they just refuse to end. They refuse to end anything. They refuse to end Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. And like Lord of the Rings was, designed to be a very specific trilogy telling a story. Mm-hmm. And then the story was over. What do you do after that? You don't make any more. That's it. You just don't make any more.
Yeah, there's no need to.
No, but we're going to get to see young Galadriel and young Isildur in this show. So
don't care.
Get ready.
Won't
get
even
ready
remember those names.
Yeah. Get ready to care about that.
Fine. Let's talk about Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
Fuck yes, let's talk about it. What the hell is Tom Hanks doing as Colonel
guys,
Tom Parker?
This is going to sound crazy, but does it seem like he fucking sucks in this?
I can't...
There's no way to tell.
He's going full Jared Leto and House of Gucci in this, and I don't know if it's bad. Better people than me can decide that. What it is like incredible, and I can't wait to see it.
He's doing a goblin accent.
Yeah.
in a Jiminy Glick fat suit or a Jared Leto fat suit. He's like doing a weird voice like, I was looking at the gyrating pelvis of the boy and he was my destiny. And you're like, what the fuck is that voice?
The goblin region of the South.
Yeah. And then Baz Luhrmann.
East Goblin, Kentucky.
This feels more straightforward for Baz, but like, I remember watching Romeo plus Juliet and being like, this is amazing. And then you watch Moulin Rouge, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. And then I just stopped watching his movies, which isn't a hit against him. It was just like, okay, I see what you're doing. I never saw Gatsby or Australia. Did he do Australia?
He did do Australia. I agree, this seems more straightforward of a narrative than he typically does.
It does.
It does just kind of look like a straightforward biopic of Elvis that is more from Colonel Tom Parker's point of view.
Apparently.
At least the trailer is, but that could just be that they're pushing Tom Hanks.
He was my destiny.
He's going to sing some rock and roll songs.
So, like the voiceover, I'm like, why does that sound so terrible? I'm like, wait, that's Tom Hanks doing a weird voice, but like, Tom Hanks is a brilliant, beloved actor. Why does he suck here?
Doing? What is he doing?
Tom Hanks never gets to do accents.
That's
when he
true.
does, it's fucking
The Lady Killers.
Fucking Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
It's almost always a movie that fails. When he does an accent, the movie fails. But like poor Tom.
Except Forrest Gump.
Right. That's okay, very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Tom Hanks. He never gets the people love him to be Tom Hanks. So he's just like, "Can I do a voice?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can."
Of course.
Like good for him. I'm glad.
Right.
I'm happy
and
for him.
If there's any filmmaker, if you ask them, can I do a voice and can it be a little weird? Like Baz Luhrmann is just going to be like, yeah, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the fuck comes out of your face, that's going to be what this character sounds like.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. And he's like, can I put on a Eddie Murphy fat suit? And they're like, yeah, go for it.
We were going to
play
insist,
7
so I'm glad
versions
you
of
asked.
myself. And I have a whole conversation where we fart.
Absolutely.
Oh, I want that to be in this movie.
Your name is...
Well,
I think I have
if this doesn't pan out,
and then
if
second
this
Eddie Murphy.
doesn't pan out, he's doing Pinocchio after this, so
true.
That's good.
Boy, I hope he does a fucking crazy voice of Pinocchio too.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Tom Hanks.
He just literally does the Paolo Gucci voice in Pinocchio. I'm making a boy.
I didn't see the Mr. Rogers one. I bet it's good. But I'm looking at his recent stuff. He's kind of phoning it in right now, isn't he? Just a little bit?
Maybe.
I don't know.
He's earned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's more than earned it.
I wouldn't say any of his choices have been phoning it in. Like, he's done stuff like Greyhound, but that was like a pet project of his, so he was really interested in that. The robot one, Finch.
I haven't seen Finch. News of the World might be good. These all seem like they might be good.
Yeah, he's not phoning in his picks.
The Post is good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. He just has a couple like he did Sully, Inferno, and The Circle.
Right.
Like, it feels like he has some like dips every now and then where it's like, oof.
I want to say that the danger of using the term phoning it in is I want to stop using it just because of Bruce Willis, because the difference between Bruce Willis phoning it in versus Tom Hanks phoning it in is just night and day. How Bruce Willis will just like literally show up to the set or phone it in. And
he won't even be
from
there.
Tom Hanks, who's like, he put on a fat suit. That's hours in the makeup chair.
That's about to say,
twice the work Bruce Willis put into any movie in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I kind of deserve to be punched by Tom Hanks for saying he's phoning it in this trailer, because he is doing the opposite of that.
Big,
I guess
what
choices. I mean is
he's going as big as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what I more mean is that like his taste, like he hasn't really done anything like. He doesn't really have his finger on the pulse anymore.
He didn't double
He's
check
just kind
to
of
see
doing
if
his own thing.
These were good choices. He just made them.
Yeah. But,
Maybe that's...
Anyway, I'll watch this film just for the voice.
Just like everybody.
Yeah.
And he looks... This looks terrible. He looks terrible in this. Whatever he's doing is fully not working.
I'm going to watch the Christ out of this movie. I'm going to watch this movie so hard. Like in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. Hell yes.
And what I like about how this is going to suck is I think everyone loves Tom Hanks so much that it will be like a fun, like embracing of the suck. And I feel like this could be I think everyone's going to have some really funny takes on this character that Tom Hanks chooses to be.
Oh, yeah. We all love Tom Hanks.
It's a real treat. Watch the trailer, everyone.
Yeah. Next trailer is for Firestarter. Twisted Firestarter.
Twisted Firestarter. It's the it's the Prodigy magic. No, it's a remake of the Stephen King movie.
There's a scene where she pops a bird in this.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
And I was like, well, there's your movie.
That's the movie. Bird Popper.
Yeah,
way better name.
I was hoping, they should have called it Bird Popper. And I hoped after that moment it would just be a series of her popping birds. This is the director of The Vigil, which I heard was a good movie. Damn, they must have already had they must have immediately, someone offered them Firestarter, and they're like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or the release of that previous one could have been delayed. I mean, this was announced, about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
here's
it's Blumhouse.
Right, it's Blumhouse.
It's got Zac Efron.
It sure does.
And Kurtwood Smith.
I was going to say the thing that seems notable about this is how out of time it feels with its theme. And what I mean by that is in the 80s, it was pretty normal to have a theme in a movie be like, oh, this person is special. They have a power. Bad people will come after us to control this power. And that seems like such a relic. And because now when like you have a special power, it's like, I'm super amazing and nobody cares. Or be like, oh yeah, hey, you're Ant-Man. Oh, nobody fucking cares that you can shrink. It's it's just this sort of thing that feels out of time that like, oh, she can start fires with her mind. Like what government agency is like, we've got to get that little girl that can start fires at all costs, send our best gunman to capture the little girl that can start fires so she could be a bomb. It's like, we have bombs. There's just no need for any of this.
Oh, I took it as like they don't want her running around.
Well,
where it's like, hey, there's a little girl who could light things on fire with her mind.
Sure.
We should probably shoot her in the head, right?
Well,
we should probably shoot her in the head.
I mean, they're totally capturing her to keep her alive. Like there's like 20
they want to know. They want to know what the dilly is. I assume.
Have either of you fine gentlemen seen the original Firestarter or read the book?
No.
It's maybe half of it when I was a kid.
Well, so the premise is her parents were in the MK Ultra program, and she is the product of that. So that's why the government has such a boner to go get her, is because she's their property, basically. It's like, oh, well, fuck, it worked on this kid. Or MK Ultra was a success.
Right.
Let's get her to help us overthrow some governments, topple some regimes.
I'm glad they mentioned the superhero stuff. I wrote about that in like an off hours or after hours, how like, yeah, with Carrie, it was just like, oh, it's Jean Grey. And then I realized like Stephen King was just doing like books about X-Men characters.
Right.
Briefly. And how horrifying they would be.
Yeah.
And they would be. Yeah, I don't know. This just looks solid.
Yeah, totally.
It's
great bird popping. I'm just saying that the premise feels very dated, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's just I haven't seen a movie like this in a long time where the motivation is like, oh, they're coming for you because you're special.
Yeah.
There's a movie called Freaks that's sort of about that.
Yes, that was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, Freaks was actually a pretty good movie.
I see what you're saying. I for sure, definitely agree with that. I hope that they update it somehow to make it a little more, like a little less out of time, because I think the book is from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This writer, by the way, is churning them out. He wrote The Quarry, and now they gave him Halloween Kills, Firestarter, The Exorcist, and Insidious 5. So they're just dumping everything on this one writer.
Here's an
for
old
some
idea.
reason.
Fucking see what you can do with it.
Yeah.
All right, what if I did the same thing? Oh,
cool.
Okay. Now, I'll change the words around, but the exact same thing. Yep, perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Here's Insidious 5.
Yeah, Halloween Kills was a big piece of shit, so
Yeah, and
it's not a great sign.
That's The Exorcist. You know who's making that?
I don't know, Michael Bay?
It's David Gordon Green.
Oh, sure.
They gave it to him. Yeah. So it's like, why are we doing this? Like, it's another case with Lord of the Rings where it's like, just, it's fine.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Like, there's no point in this. But sure. The remake, or it's a sequel to The Exorcist.
Okay.
It's like,
Again,
all right.
sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last trailer?
Yeah, this is the very last trailer. Man, we've done it. Whew.
Yep. Can you folks at home guess what's missing from this? It's the trailer for Nope.
Nope.
Jordan Peele's Nope.
I love
So you want to
how,
hear what I think it is?
It's aliens.
It's totally aliens. You think it's not aliens?
No, you want to know what I think the aliens are doing.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Because, well, there's a clear theme in this trailer, right? And it's horses. So, like, they have to be wrangling them, right? That's the idea, I assume, is you don't put a bunch of horse stuff in your movie without that meaning something. And I'm just assuming
and it's
that the premise is aliens are wrangling them like they do to horses or cattle. That's just, I don't know. Maybe it's a red herring.
No,
maybe it's
I
a
think
misdirect.
you might be,
but like,
because it's not just that. It's
cowboys.
It's horses in Hollywood. So it's like the trailer starts with the character saying, "Did you know the first moving picture was a couple of images of a black man riding a horse? That was the first movie." And so it's about this family that owns this Hollywood horse ranch that gets under siege by some mysterious thing in the sky, which pretty clearly seems to be aliens. But yeah, I think you're probably onto something there,
listen
Dave.
to this. What if they're riding them? Huh? What if the aliens come down and they're riding the humans? This is like a take on the body snatcher thing. I guess that one they made a second person. The aliens, they come down, take
they're
over
all
your
just
brain.
little Yodas.
Yeah.
Running on people's backs.
Now we're talking.
Fucking,
it's all a metaphor for them crawling in your brain and riding your brain, and then Daniel Kaluuya is like,
it would be
it's fucking someone in my brain piloting me around again. He always looks so bored under these outrageous circumstances.
Yeah, he does have resting bored face.
He does.
It would be keeping in line with his past movies. Get Out and Us are very Twilight Zone-y, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, he loves symbolism.
Right.
So, like, Us, it's like the poster was scissors, and it's like, it's about two people, it's being tethered to someone else, cutting that tether, and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Here's
this
what
one,
I'm
it's just,
glad
I
you
can't
brought
help
this.
but to notice the horses. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, so what is those two things related? It's got to be that. It's got to be that they're being wrangled. It's terrifying to them, but they're just being treated like livestock.
I hope they're being used for alien movies. That was the other thing I was going to. All right, what were you saying, John?
Oh, I was just glad that you brought up both those movies, because I think they demonstrate both what he likes, which is symbolism, allegory, but like they're so different, because I think Get Out is like a masterpiece where there's meaning hiding in every detail, and the more you watch it, the more you get it. Whereas I think Us gets fucking stupid the more you think about it. Like completely unravels once you start like actually thinking about it, but not in a necessarily a bad way. But it's like a really dumb and fun episode.
You mean
of the Twilight
logistics and the
Zone.
logistics,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
As
Get
opposed
Out,
to the symbolism.
yeah, I think the symbolism holds up. Whatever. I feel like.
Yeah.
But what I mean is just like that. The story, that world unravels, and when you're like, well, why did they do that? Oh my god, you're telling me that like. Underground, they're running around grabbing rabbits because somebody up there. Come on, Jordan. But like that, you're not supposed to think about that. But, whereas with Get Out, you're like, wait, what does that mean? You're like, oh, I get that. Oh, that's fucking dark. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, but I like how those two movies demonstrate like his range and unifying themes.
Oh
and
yeah.
so I feel like he's a genius, and this is gonna be great.
Yeah, at some point. He's definitely in the promo stuff. He's getting Shyamalan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's getting From the Mind of Jordan Peele, that stuff. And so, like, there's that thing in the back of my head, which is like, I wonder when he'll run out of ideas. But
when will his devil happen?
But that's all in the promo stuff. That's not him.
Yeah.
And so far, he's 2 for 2 with me. And I have no reason to think this won't be great, too. So I'm just fucking excited. Also, what's her name? Keke Palmer? Just being in everything right now, I guess. Because she's also in Lightyear. And Alice. And so it's like, well, shit. I'm fucking pumped. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Still very mysterious. Like, I feel like it's pretty obvious it's aliens, but also not like overt. Like it could be something. It could be horse tornado or something.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if it was like a weather god, but I think it's an alien, and I want people to mark my words now. I think they're being wrangled like cattle.
And I think they're being ridden.
Ridden, like with the Yodas, yeah. I was right about Moonfall. I'm riding that high.
And I
was right-ish. Did the moon fall down? Were you right about the moon falling?
I was right. That was like, I bet the moon's going to fall in
Jesus
that.
Christ.
And that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened.
It's undeniable. That's what happened. I suspect it might have something to do with Hollywood and how it treats people of color, or it has treated people of color throughout history.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That's my guess from this trailer.
Yeah.
There will be a racial component.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue in Us it was more of a class component, right?
They're all social though. They're all like
they're
like
all social.
Twilight Zone. They're all very. They have a social commentary message to them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's both makes it predictable, but also like that's what I love about
as
these
long
movies.
as it all hangs together. I don't care how predictable it is, honestly.
Yeah, same here. I just love. So this is the thing I love more than anything else with Jordan Peele, is that he's like the only person making horror movies about shit that you would have never thought of. Mm-hmm. Like Get Out, it's like, what an original idea. Us, like they all stem from things for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But then Us, it's like, make the villains doppelgangers. It's like, fuck. I haven't seen that ever.
And it's not him doing the Shyamalan thing where it's working backwards from a twist. It's like, I want to say this very specific thing about this very specific topic. Right. What does that look like as a horror movie?
He's not putting twists in.
Yeah.
Like Us does technically have a twist, but it doesn't feel like that was the first thing he thought of. And this is like a cloud monster. And it's like, this is like Stephen King shit.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I'm going to make something scary that you haven't even fucking thought of. Mm-hmm. And so it's ridiculous and it's silly, and he makes it work really well. And he's such a good director too. Mm-hmm. He has like very classic sensibilities in the way he does his movies. So it's just like the trailer for this, they do the Shining thing. They have the text slowly come down, and it was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, I love that shit. So yeah, it's all these things. I love it.
And if you're listening, Daniel Kaluuya,
that's my theme.
Sorry.
What, that is resting like
his
tire
resting
space?
Board face. He's probably putting a lot of effort into like expressing himself, and it's just like, whatever.
He always kind of looks a little sick of this shit. Yeah.
He like almost looks out of place in Black Panther, where he's like in the crowd and all these people are like, I am proud Wakanda, and he's like, guys, what the fuck are these costumes? This shit's silly.
I'm like the rhino guy. I guess that's my thing.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm in charge of the rhinos.
He's the Nick Nolte of black cinema.
Yeah. Oh, you should put that.
Oh man,
like,
I want to see now. Now I want to see
His
Nick
agent should
Nolte
sell him
as a
that way.
rhino guy. Oh, I guess I'm in charge of the rhinos over here.
You're telling me they're gonna put rhinos in with a computer? What the fuck kind of picture is this?
And I realize it sounds like I was doing a Tom Waits impression, but that's because Nick Nolte and Tom Waits have just become the same person.
Yeah, they've slowly merged.
Yes,
and then
they've
Ethan Hawke is waiting
Ethan
to
Hawke
join
is
them.
getting in on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. He's growing into it. What the fuck?
Yeah. I hope I become Tom Waits. I want to be that kind of old guy.
That's what we all become eventually. That's like the universe just becomes Tom Waits.
let's
Let's thank some more producers.
Yeah.
We'd made it through trailers. So big thank you to the Midnight Patron with Patrons at Midnight. Thank you very much. Thank you to Exploding Runes. Thank you to Andrew, the Proud Satanist How. Thank you to Vincent. Thank you to Rev MD. Thank you to Lauren Gucci. Thank you to Bootler Boodleson. Thank you to Tux. Thank you to Ricky Cilantro. Thank you to Norm from Cheers. Thank you to Space McNulty. Thank you very much.
All right, let me swoop in here like a cloud monster. Thanks to your mom.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to Nolan Mayton.
Thank you.
Thank you to Andrew. Follow Marina on Twitch and Patreon at HeartFistBrain McGuire.
Thank you.
Thank you to AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tip Drizzle.
Thank
Thank you to Burrito Mouth.
Thank you.
Thank you to the ghost of Dave Thomas.
Thank
you to Aaron Burser. Thank you to Christopher Robert Sparts, Esquire.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mackenzie Fuck Shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick. Chill.
Thank you.
Thank you to Funky J.
Thank you.
Thank you to Pie Guy.
Pie Guy.
Dave.
I'm down to 7% understanding the references of your patrons.
It decreases steadily as the episode progresses. Dave, listen, we're already in the weeds. We're already
really
running
are.
over. So I'm gonna cut the bit. I'm gonna cut the shit this week.
Are we running over, or is just the length of our episodes now?
It's just a 2-hour show now. That's just what it is. Dave, do you have a movie somehow amongst all of these trailers we've discussed? Do you have a movie that deserves more hype?
You know I do.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, it's weird. There's a few that I've been looking at, and this one just popped out at me because I was like, this is just fun. This is weird and fun. It's called The Seed. It's coming out on Shudder March 10th. And boy, what's going on here?
This looks pretty great.
Yeah,
I think I can describe this.
Yeah, it's a group of young women.
Oh, wait, okay. Yeah.
All right, describe it.
Yeah, you do
describe
it. You do it, Sean.
Okay, I can do it in 11 words, probably.
Okay.
Bikini babes, fuck turtle monster, go crazy, save galaxy with violence. Did I get it?
I think you may have. Yeah. I think you did.
That's what it is. Is there's a group of bikini babes at a house, a vacation house, and
a bikini
meteor
babe
shower.
House.
Yeah, a meteor shower happens, and a meteor crashes into the pool, and it's this little baby turtle monster.
It looks like the baby from Dinosaurs.
Yeah,
it does.
It's a practical effect, and they all sort of have various reactions. One of them wants to take care of it. They all. I hear it's a weird take on motherhood. That's what some of the reviews are saying. So they all kind of. I don't know what that says about the reviewer, to be honest. Because then in the trailer they clearly fucked the thing.
One of them.
One of them definitely is. Yeah.
She's
a few of the characters they start horny. They're just horny.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Stated. One of them says they want to get laid. They're talking they're gonna make it's gonna be a Porky's movie.
They're 3 bikini babes watching a meteor shower at a bikini babe mansion.
Yeah, and you know how horny that gets people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so then they seem to fuck the alien.
They give him a husky hand job.
They give him an HH.
One of them very clearly gets pregnant. One of them's like, "Hey, look at that," and they start to pan down to her belly and cut away. It's like, well, we know what that was, guys. It's not going to be a surprise.
Right. And it and then they start getting weird black makeup and they start becoming possessed and shit.
Yeah, they turn into real ghouls.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on there. I assume it's like a parasite and it's affecting them. And that's all I know.
Yeah.
That's
everything.
The person who's making it, they haven't really made much before. Doesn't matter. If you watch the trailer for The Seed, you'll understand why it's our movie that deserves more hype.
Mm-hmm. This was they added a "the" to an Uwe Boll movie, so I bet most people didn't see Uwe Boll's Seed, but it does slightly increase the chances of someone calling your movie The Seed and then in parentheses the good one.
Right.
So that's something.
And it seems like the good one.
Yeah.
It feels like it's. I hear the plot and I think it's like a no-budget 70s movie. That's like what I want it to be. But it kind of looks well made. Like you're talking about the practical effects, but they're fine. But the dialogue doesn't feel very like zany. It feels more like Scream 7 or something. I kind of wanted it to be more Army of Darkness. I wanted it to be more crazy.
More campy.
It doesn't feel like a Nicolas Cage style crazy movie. It feels like a Trauma style crazy movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. God, I'm just throwing out just fucking complete random references.
No, I think that
it
that
does feel
checks
very
out.
Trauma.
It definitely, it's not campy. It's like dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually because I actually avoid the ones that are trying to be Trauma films, because there's a lot of those where they're like, isn't this ironic and fun? And it's like,
you're right.
You're too.
It doesn't give off that
they're
vibe.
like,
you're right.
Yeah, it doesn't, because it seems more like genuine, which I appreciate because it's batshit.
I still think the Trauma comparison is apt because it's grotesque. It's grotesque in the way that Trauma is grotesque.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it doesn't feel like it's trying to be. It's trying to be its own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has a sincerity that you don't get in Trauma movies, but it does.
Well, it's more of like I like Trauma movies. It's when people try to imitate Trauma movies.
Okay.
That's when it starts getting like Trauma is like, it's just such the real deal. Lloyd Kaufman is such a oddly genuine person.
Well, and tongue-in-cheek is a really hard tone to pull off, and that's not the tone of this trailer, at least. The movie maybe, but so yeah.
This trailer could have used a hand job. I mean,
honestly,
throwing out notes.
Every trailer we've discussed could use a wheezing hand job.
We don't normally crown a winner, but I think we know what the winner is.
Yes. Greatest trailer. Yeah, they're going to teach classes about this trailer.
And Ben Affleck getting a hand job. What the fuck? It's so fucking weird.
I'm not who you think I am either.
Holy shit. Everybody watch the trailer for The Seed and the hand job one.
Just coming into his
Water.
iced
It's
coffee from
Water.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh
boy. Oh man, that's a sewed. We've done it.
We did it.
Woo!
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
doing this and getting through it all, man. There's a lot of trailers.
It was a big day for movies and for hand jobs.
And for hype.
Fuck yeah, for hype.
What do you want to tell people? What do you want to plug? What do you want to say?
Oh, visit 1900hotdog.com, the world's last comedy website.
Yeah,
we have a Patreon and a store, all this stuff. Podcast, we do it all.
So to say you coined that oh, maybe it wasn't so tongue in cheek, but it's probably literally true at this point. That's the only
that we're the last comedy website. Yeah, we kind of everyone kind of does that gag where it's like we're the first blah blah blah, but like we might be the last one.
Yeah,
like,
It's
so enjoy it while it lasts.
Wasteland.
It's a dying art form. This whole text and pictures articles on the internet. But so enjoy it.
Is not.
For the
You're
last...
making it thriving.
Yeah,
sir.
I guess you could look at it that way. We are a growing. We just hired columnist Tom Ryman from the hit podcast Hypecast and Gameful Unemployed.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah.
I just turned in entirely too many words about a Steven Seagal movie.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I haven't looked at it yet.
Dave, why don't you tell him something?
We have a podcast.
We do. You're listening to it.
Check out Hypecast. My brain just broke. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, there's exclusive podcasts for just $5 a month. you get access to Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all on there for $10 a month. You can also watch movies with us every Friday night. That's the night of when this comes out. We watched, God, I don't even know what we watched last time. Doesn't matter. Who gives a shit?
We watched a Michael Douglas movie last time. Remember? We watched A Perfect Murder.
We did.
Yeah.
God damn it. Yeah, we did, fuck.
Yeah.
We did Hitchcock.
1998
movies.
Hitchcock reboot starring Viggo Mortensen. There was more.
Yes.
There was more than one.
With, I think, $500,000 in the plot.
Yeah, 400,000.
Yeah.
I don't want to make you guys
400,000.
jealous, but we're watching duets this weekend.
Oh,
Ooh,
man.
we did that already.
We did that.
It's,
inspired by the podcast episode you did about it. But
yeah, that's a dark,
holy
dark
shit!
movie.
I think our patrons were genuinely upset at us about that movie.
Now, if you haven't seen that movie, and no one has, it's fucking insane.
It is.
Yeah.
It defies you to predict what kind of movie it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably do a disclaimer. We walk directly into the void often on movie nights.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we will take you all with us. So
Can we cut my plug and just plug the hit film Duets starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Huey Lewis?
Yeah.
And
Seriously, everybody watch Duets. Who else is in that?
Paul Giamatti, Andre Braugher.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild, man.
Coyote Ugly lady. What's her name?
Piper Perabo.
Piper Perabo. What a babe.
Scott Speedman shows
Scott
up.
Speedman. Yes.
Listen, we also have a store. Head over to gameplayandplay.com. You find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, stickers, mugs, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out. And check out the film Duets. Dave, we should start selling duets. Can we sell duets DVDs?
Like copies of Duets? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I don't think that there's no law against that, right?
There's no law against that.
Yeah.
Just K-Talk, baby.
Yeah. That's right. What do they call like shadow? Like there's shadow was part of the term, wasn't it?
Yes, they invented a whole vernacular just for karaoke hustling.
Just for
They invented a world and then
amazing.
stocked it with characters who don't exist that
Right.
wouldn't interact with that world in that way to just create the most troublingly strange. Go watch Duets.
Yeah,
Go watch Duets. We don't have to make a podcast about Duets right now.
They invented an entire culture of karaoke hustlers and then populated it with different kinds of nihilists.
Yes.
It's incredible. All right. I think that's more than enough. We can be done. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye. Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, Corlew, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown, and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.